But you got some interesting news. I know you brought a list here of things that you really want to touch up on. What are some of the things that you want, topics that you would like to...
Well, let's talk about what's in the news media currently right now, and that's the buyer broker, where the seller's not having to participate in assisting the buyer broker in the sale of their home.
Okay, in English that means that the buyer will have a choice to either pay the real estate agent or not.
Correct. So here's the challenge in that is majority of customers that are looking to buy a home are going to be either FHA, a VA, or USDA finance, and 99% of that customer base that I've worked with, they don't have the operating cash, over and above the mortgage lending fees, the down payment assistance, and to be able to assist the buyer broker. So, it's a challenge for first-time home buyers to find a buyer broker to work with them if there's no seller concessions. And, one of the things that the MLS does here locally is when we do a listing presentation with the seller, there's a checkbox that says, yes, the seller is willing to participate with buyer broker compensation. And there's a no checkbox. And that no checkbox doesn't allow the seller, they've decided that was in their financial best interest, which really is not, to not participate in the buyer brokerage compensation. So as soon as you hit that checkbox, when we put this data in our system, the first statement that comes out of MLS, I'm going to read it to you, it says, now I've only done one that said yes to buyer, because I'm working with listing. Most people that sell their home or wanting to sell their home or wanting to sell their home.
Yeah.
They're not just wanting to put it on the internet.
Right.
So, we're wanting to get your home sold and get it. If there's buyer compensation needed and the seller agrees to that, then we need to do so. But the first sentence that automatically comes in the public remarks that you'll see, seller may consider buyer compensation made in this offer. And we will have that data on the back side. It's no longer publicly available or available to the internet as what does that compensation look like. They're going to have to contact us and say, what's that seller compensation look like?
So back up a little bit so I understand, because it takes me a while to understand things. So I have a choice as a seller whether to compensate this other person.
Correct.
That's coming in with their own real estate agent.
Yeah.
Or I can choose not to compensate, and that means that the people coming in to buy my house have to compensate.
Correct. And the challenge with that is it's more than likely that compensation, let's say the buyer's agent is getting compensated 2%, 2.5% of that purchase price. Somewhere it's going to come in, there's going to be some negotiation because the buyer's coming in with a cost. They realize it's their cost, but they're also going to try to negotiate with the seller on that cost. So the seller's going to pay for it more than likely in one of those two venues. Either they're going to negotiate on the negotiation side, or realize up front the best place to negotiate is up front. You know what your costs are, and help on the buyer's brokerage side. So,
is it to my advantage as the seller to either pay it for them, or say, listen, let's just split the cost? Like today, if you come in with another agent and you're both getting 4 to 6%, you just split it with the other agent.
Yeah,
right?
Our listing agreement. So yeah, we're
So what's the deal on trying to, everybody needs to make a living, so it's just going to make it harder to sell the homes if people don't work together, if they're going to have this kind of competition, which I believe goes into law in what, August?
August 5th, so it's coming down the pipeline. So yeah, back to recap, we're wanting to sell the home. You're wanting to sell the home.
Right.
So we want to do one of the best tools is either is pricing, but also allow for compensation to the buyer's broker. The financial numbers are going to come out somewhere in the wash, and it's got to work out best for the seller at the end. But we want to also at the same time let the seller sell their home in a timely manner too.
I think that's going to tie up a lot of people, because with this new law, a lot of people with new laws in general, they misinterpret it.
Yeah.
So they're going to get to the point where they're going to be like, well, no, I ain't paying your guy. I ain't paying your guy. And what's going to happen is they're not going to sell their house.
Right. It's going to slow down the marketing of their home.
Because it's going to be unnecessary. Yeah. But why did they do this? I mean, they're doing this in every business now. They come in and they rock the boat to the point that who's this really benefiting and who's really losing?
Well, I don't have the inside information on this, but from what I understand, there was a stack of lawsuits that were, because somebody got on the bandwagon, everybody said, I'm going to get on the bandwagon. So apparently the reason they're settling and not doing a whole lot, because the contracts were negotiable in the beginning, to a large degree. But now they say, if you can suppress this one case up front, we're going to get this allocated. We're going to change the way we do our compensation. All these other cases won't apply. So this case here, I'm sure the attorneys have to get paid too, and I'm sure they're getting a large chunk. And it's like any large claim, if they're going to try to give back a percentage back to every home seller because they felt like they were offended by helping the buyer's broker, they're going to get a very small amount, probably $15, $20, because there's millions of homes sold every year.
Yeah.
So if I don't know if it's class action or how this is formulated, but
yeah, those class actions, you think, well, you did win the case, but you didn't win
anything.
You didn't win anything.
Yeah,
matter of fact,
so I don't know if it's a true class action or not. I haven't really dug into the legal aspect.
Well, there's always somebody that's going to follow up on that. But again, just to understand who benefits and who loses here.
Well, if there's no compensation at all, the seller's going to have a more challenging time marketing their property. It's like me and you want to get paid, and as a buyer's broker, we can talk about this in another segment, but there's a lot goes on behind the scenes. When I do a transaction, I have anywhere from 40 to 50 hours of leg work, and I'm the one that's responsible for the timelines and making sure the inspections are done. I'm working with one that's contingent on the sale of the home. So this morning I was on the phone calling their agent, making sure that their home inspections went okay, make sure the appraisal was ordered. I got to follow up, make sure the appraisal was done. Some agents are not going to be due diligent and communicate back to me. I'm responsible for my business, and I got to communicate to them at least. So,
one thing I noticed about you, as well as my daughter-in-law, when you guys sell a home or a business, you show up.
Mm-hmm.
In today's world, most real estate agents don't show up. They just give you a combo key and say, go look at it yourself.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
And then that's where I say, yes, they shouldn't be compensated, because you know what?
Yeah, they're not working.
They're not doing a damn thing.
Yeah.
Where people like you and like I said, my daughter, they do the due diligence. You do the work. Even you weren't even my agent, and you were telling me where I could find this, where I can get this, what to look in for this, how to do this. Which was very generous of you. So, and I see how you work with your customers as well. You're very, very on top of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So how does one look for a real estate agent like you? Because obviously people can use you from anywhere in the world. But if they had to look at locally, how do they find a Rick Harper?
So I service all of Florida to start with. So I can service anywhere in Florida. My key market strategy area is going to be Lake, Sumter, and Marion. But I can service, I'm a Florida licensee, and I've done stuff in Daytona, St. Pete, Stieflin. So there's properties that we can work with and help your buyer. It doesn't have to be a home, it's commercial, residential, large tracts of land. And we actually have, through ERA Grizzard, we have a network of real estate agents that we can get refer you to a quality agent, because a lot of times the ones that you may be selecting online don't have a lot of business experience. I mean, they may be realtors, but they may not have a lot of business experience.
Are they really a person?
They really are. They're a realtor. But so they can contact me directly. You have my information here, and I can help you with find a realtor to serve your local needs. So we can help you find somebody. If you're in Texas or wherever it may be, we can definitely help you find a realtor to help you service your needs.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I always want to get into real estate, but I can't handle the test.
Yeah,
there's more to it than people think. A lot of people want to get into real estate, and I hear them say it all the time. But getting into real estate is not just selling. What goes behind being a realtor is that you have to know that when you're taking this test, you're not just saying, you could be a great salesperson, but then there comes the paperwork.
Yeah, so my morning generally starts about 6:30, and I start my paperwork, and I work till generally, it depends on my dynamics, we go to the gym, but generally I work till 10:30, maybe 11:30, and then I'll do my calls and help buyers after 11:30, 12 o'clock. So my paperwork's in the morning, but I'll work 6 to 8 contracts per month. So I'm always.
But when you're doing this paperwork, you're not writing pretty home, pink paint, You're
No.
actually having to do some math. You have
Well,
to do some
we're
writing.
we're digging in. We have a lot of data. Like I said, we can dig deeper into another interview on that part. But there's a lot of data collecting and tracking and being accountable for. You know, our brokerage is a licensed brokerage, so we have to be, call it, our ethic has to be high, and you know, we have to have a high work ethic and a loyalty ethic to our customer base. So we're striving to keep all the data in place, and we're doing it. You know,
Cool.
if we're
Well,
doing
I know you're doing it because I see how you handle your clients. I listen to you on the phone. I shouldn't be listening, but I do because I'm nosy. But anyway, what last words would you give to anybody who's looking for a home or first-time home buyer? What advice? What can you leave them with that can keep their hopes up high for?
Well, you know, as our market trending is where it's at, as for sellers, it's always a good time to sell, because if you need to move on to the next thing in life, the challenges may be there, but we can work through those challenges. As for a buyer, they just need to be diligent in saving their money to where they can get to that point, and find some financial counsel. And there's some mortgage lenders I have ability to that can help you figure out where you're at in your financial ability. So they'll be glad to talk to you anytime. Like I said, reach out to me, and we'll be glad to get you into that first-time home buying experience, or second.
Thanks, Rick. It was a pleasure having you on the show today.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. And if I were you, I would get in touch with somebody like Rick who will help you find out what it is that you need to do and do your due diligence, and also get prepared to see what you qualify for. See how much you can spend on the house. Just don't go in blindly, because sometimes that works better to your benefit, as Rick and I was talking earlier. When you get pre-qualified and you know what you can afford, then you can go in with more confidence. But if you just go in off the cuff, most of the times it's disappointing and it's heartbreaking, and you might give up on something, a dream that you've had for a very long time.